big thanks to each and every one of you who joined the call, who are here with us, who have been a part of the conversation from day one. And trust me, day 4 is going to be as amazing as day 1 was. And day 4 is going to be as amazing as day 0 was. And we want you to take this conversation to the next level. We don't want it to just remain a conversation. We don't want it to be as I always said, that they are like their fathers who had conversations, who talked about the unification of Africa and never did anything about it. We want you and I to forge forward, that even after this conversation, we will do or we effect change in our sphere of conscience. So once again, I thank each and every one of you, and kindly mute yourselves when you join in. Once again, a very big thanks.
Now, like when you go live, you want to
So I want to say a very big thanks to each and every one of you. Let's forge forward, please. Let's forge forward. Let's make this happen. Let's make the Africa we want to see happen. So the Africa you envision to happen, paint a part of it. Paint your part of it. Reach out to me if you need any assistance. Reach out to us if you need any assistance, if you need any coach, if you need any mentor, we are here for you. Reach out to us, and we are all able and willing to link you up to the right persons that will assist you. So once again, greetings from the founder, Mr. James Akweku, who couldn't make it here, and also Mr. Jinedu, who happens to be the co-founder as well. Myself want to say a very big thanks to you for sticking with us. And as we commence day 4, please, once again, from day 1 to day 4, please, if you missed any part, go back on YouTube. We have it saved there for you. Get the nuggets and let's make it happen. So thank you all, and I cannot wait to see you. So once again, I would want to say a very big thanks to you, and over to you, Mary.
Much, Mr. Alfred. I think one time you'll have to tell us what the K stands for in your name, because to me it sounds like it's almost a full name. What does the K stand for, Mr. Alfred?
It's Kwesi. My name
Kwesi.
is Alfred Eli Kwesi Day. Now the K is Kwesi. I was born on Sunday, and in Ghana, when you are born on any particular day, we give you a name according to your birthday day. So I was born on Sunday, and I'm Kwesi.
That's amazing. That's amazing to know the meaning of your name. My name is Takali, and it means soil. Now, please don't ask me what it means, why they gave me a name that means soil. That will be a story for another day. So, ladies and gentlemen, that is Mr. Alfred for you. Mr. Alfred is our co-founder, those who weren't present when I was introducing him. And he has challenged us that it's our responsibility, both me and you, to shape the Africa that we want. Now, before we go ahead, as we're waiting for our first speaker, I would like to give a chance to one person to unmute themselves and tell us what they've learned so far from day 1 to day 3. Kindly raise a hand and unmute. I'll pick someone, they'll unmute, and then they tell us in 30 seconds, if you're interested. I'm seeing a hand. Margaret Selemani, kindly unmute. Selemani, kindly unmute and tell us, please.
Hello, can you get me?
Yes, I can hear you. We can hear you, please.
Okay, thank you so much. So my name is Margaret Selemani. I'm from Zambia. And over the past 2 days, I've been looking at most of the things that we've looked at. It has really been an eye-opener to most of the things that we do as leaders, and most of the things that we need to take into consideration as we are going into our communities as leaders. Firstly, I would like to talk about something that really an impact on me when I talk of customer branding, because most of the time to get to find that.
Miss Margaret, we can't hear anything. You are not audible.
How about
Miss
now?
Margaret? Yes, we can hear you now. Thank you.
Okay, I'm clear now?
Yes, please.
Okay, thank you. So my name is Margaret Selemani from Zambia. So over the past 3 days, looking at most of the sessions that we've had with great speakers that came on board and everything, it has really been an amazing journey, even though it was short, but it has really been amazing because we have learned a lot of things. And let's talk of something that's really had an impact on me. I would say when we had a session which had to do with personal branding. So in this case, you'd find that most of the times we get to do things not really knowing that we're painting a very bad picture about ourselves. And as a leader, you don't really have to be that way. You need to lead by example so that people can follow you. And just by having those great speakers that we've had and everything that has been spoken about, I think this has really been helpful, and it has really opened most of our eyes and most of the things that we did not see. So I just want to say thank you for this opportunity, for bringing this opportunity to us and just to learn about leadership and all. And I bet each and every particular person who is in this session, who has gone through all these sessions that we've had, I bet they've gotten one or two things, and they will be able to be great leaders as they go out there in their communities and just helping. And please let us not just keep this information to ourselves, but let us also spread it to our friends who are out there who are not on this platform. Thank you so much.
Okay, that's amazing. That's amazing. Let's not keep the information to ourselves. Let us pass on the information. That is how we will be able to make impact. Now, for purposes of inclusivity, I would like to give a chance to a man to raise up their hand and tell us what they have taken so far from day one. I'm looking for a man. Okay, Hamza Dubed, kindly unmute and say your thoughts, please.
Hello, everyone. I think you are hearing me.
Hi. Yes.
Good evening. I am Hamza Seri from Somaliland. I think all of you.
Good evening. Kindly go ahead.
Okay, the past 3 days, it was very helpful, as well as we got a lot of amazing skill. The great speakers. I appreciate African Leadership Youth Foundation for that amazing event. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, everyone. And I was still checking to see if we have our speaker in the room tonight, but I'm not seeing him. So I'll give a chance to some other two people, a female and a male. Kindly raise your hand. I'll say your name, then you can go ahead and speak. If you have a comment, if you have a takeaway from day one, I'm seeing Josiane Adolphe. Kindly unmute and speak, please.
Okay, hello guys, can you hear me?
Kindly increase your voice.
I'm saying, hello, can you hear me?
Yes, please.
Okay, so my takeaway, since a lot of things have been talked about. So my name is Josiane Adolphe from Zambia, and so what I took away from everything that we've discussed so far was yesterday's presentation that was titled "Why Not Now?" You know, and it really, really touched me. He talked about seeing yourself as a leader today and not waiting for the future. He also talked about how there's this notion that youths are the leaders for tomorrow, but why not today? Why not be the leaders for today? Why are we waiting for tomorrow? So it really touched my heart. He said something about he did everything that he thought he would do in 5 years in a year, and he realized that he did not need a year. He did not need 5 years, sorry. So that really, really, really helped me a lot. And I just thought of sharing to say, why not now? As youths, as leaders, we shouldn't wait for tomorrow. Let's do everything that we need to do now. As the future leaders of Africa, we shouldn't even be saying as the future leaders, we should be saying, as the leaders of Africa now, let us do what we need to do. Thank you very much. That's what I got.
Thank you so much, ma'am. I'm seeing Charles Gusto. Kindly unmute yourself and speak.
Good evening. Can you guys hear me?
Yes, please.
All right. So I'm Charles Donasiano Gusto from Malawi. So for me, my take home for the past 3 days has really been more about the presenters themselves. We've heard from different presenters from the different topics that we've been delving into. For me, it's the inspiration from the lives that they're living and the impact that they're having in their respective countries. Seeing that young people are taking up space like that, for me, it's a motivation to say that I, as a young leader myself, I've got to up my game, to really just not think within a little box, but come out of it and be able to make an impact in my community and in my country. So for me, the lives of these young people that are speaking to us, the motivation through their stories and how some of them are leading businesses, are leading organizations, some of them are in places of influence. For me, that is an encouragement and motivation to say, together we can do something. And also an issue of networking, to say that as a global village, we've got to work together to solve the problems that are affecting us. For most of these problems could be quite mutual. So yeah, so that's my take for the past 3 days. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Charles. It's nice to hear from you. And I think personally also, I've learned a lot from the sessions that we've had. The fact that Africa has the most youngest population in the whole world, it means that we are so many young people who have to do a lot. I mean, we cannot wait for people to do the change. We have to participate in the change making. So, and we have to start now. We don't have to wait for tomorrow, because we are the leaders of today, not tomorrow. And so the theme of the conference was transformative leadership for sustainable development in Africa. Today, particularly for day 4, we are going to delve into implementation, sustainability, and leadership ethics. And these sessions are designed to help you understand the practical aspects of leadership, from planning and executing projects to maintaining ethical standards and fostering sustainable practices. So I encourage you to actively listen, participate, and ask questions where necessary. Ladies and gentlemen, the first speaker of the night is none other than Mr. Alfred, who has been here before us. He's going to talk about the strategies of sustainable leadership and how we can be able to build sustainable leadership in Africa. Mr. Alfred, if you are there, kindly unmute and take it away. Thank you. Mr. Alfred. Mr. Alfred, I'll kindly ask you to unmute and present. Mr. Alfred. I can see Mr. Alfred.
Hi,
I don't know why
hi.
you cannot.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, please.
So sorry, I apologize. I think my network was messing up a bit. So once again, it's a pleasure to have you all here. And it's also a pleasure to be invited to speak on the first topic, to be invited as the first speaker for today's initiative. It's very important as leaders for us to always engage in strategic leadership. And the topic, I think, is on strategic leadership for strategic building strategies for sustainable leadership. So one of the things that I have noticed over time, and I'm going to be extremely brief as I'm standing up for one of our speakers. So one of the things that I have noticed over time is that African leaders or the African youth sometimes do not take the mantle of leadership when we are expected to. And I don't think that there is a reason why we should shy away from leadership at all. At all. I am not a believer of shying away from leadership. I am a firm believer of the fact that we should always go for leadership roles whenever it comes. During the course of a week, we have listened to several speakers share their perspectives on leadership, on how leaders are made, on how leaders are created, on how we can even become leaders. And in our becoming of leaders, what do we have to do? I'm going to use this opportunity to share my experiences as well as a young leader coming up, growing up in the African space, and to share some tips that have been able to help me propel me to the next level and has helped me and aided me in carrying the mantle of leadership to the next level, and even helped me also communicate the value that I have created to several persons. Now, one of the things that I've noticed, which is very crucial as young Africans, is our communication. Communication. And today, 2 days ago, we listened to some of the rudiments of communication, of effective communication. You cannot miss out on this. You cannot miss out on the fact that the things you say and the way you say them are very crucial to your to how you pass on knowledge to people. So communication is extremely crucial as a young African. As a young African, as we want to build ourselves to the next level, we will always have to be mindful of that we need to build ourselves, speak well, we need to speak the right words, we need to communicate. And communication, funny enough, doesn't have to even do with only verbal. Sometimes it's also to do with how you look. So how would someone, what communication do you give someone per the way you are dressed? So the way you are dressed is also a form of communication. So it's also very crucial for us to engage ourselves in that sense as young Africans and leaders of this generation. In my leadership journey, I came across very important steps to becoming Christians. And one of these things was how to build effective alliances. So while I was in law school, I noticed that the people that were in my faculty were my competitors, and the people in other faculties were my clients, my potential clients. Now, building strategic alliance simply means that you are engaging yourself in a way where you would be able to get opportunities from people that are not within your sphere of contact. Now, so building strategic alliance is that you are an IT student. You are a student of economics. You're a student banking and finance. You're studying law and all that. Now, would it be possible that we can say that if we want someone, let's say you're a law student. Let me use myself as an example. Because I'm a law student, or because I studied law, I noticed that the potential clients, the people who are going to become future leaders, future politicians, future CEOs, are the people from the other department. So what do? I started connecting with them, even back in law school. I started engaging them, even back in law school, because the best time to become friends with a king is before they become king. It's not when they are already king. It's not when they are already on their way to the presidency. The best time to become friends with a president is before they become president, just so that when they become president, you are already their friends. Because when they are already kin, there are so many limitations. There are so many things that will deter you from getting or reaching them. And so, what is the best time to connect with the president? What is the best time to connect with the CEO? What is the best time to connect with a potential minister of state? What is the best time to connect with a future diplomat? It is before they become that person. It is before they become president, before they become minister of state. And what time is that time? That time is now, when you are with them on campus, when you are with them in schools. So you must build strategic alliances in the sense that when you engage people, make sure that you are finding friends from different industries. Make sure you are creating alliances from different industries. Sometimes it is not the people within your sphere of contact that are going to effect that change that you want. Sometimes it is the change that you want is going to come from people who are in different industries. So people say that your network is your net worth, or your net worth is your network. So how much people you know, or how much great individuals you know, or how much powerful people you know will determine how much you are worth. And so the question that bears is, how much are you worth? Who do you know? How do you know the people you know? How are you connecting to the people around you? These are the things that are going to mark you out as a young leader. And these are indeed the things that mark me out. While I was on campus, I was part of the Full Gospel Businessmen Fellowship. While I was on campus, I was engaging several businessmen across different industries. And that was how I was able to propel myself to the next level. I'm going to share a few stories with you, a few things with you. And it's concerning my journey again. I remember there was time, I do not come from a privileged home. I come from a very humble home. And so while in school, I had to also see how I could see myself through school. And one of the things that I had to do was, how can I be very strategic in this, just so that I'll be able to get so many more opportunities. So while on campus, I was doing poetry. I do spoken word. I go for programs, do spoken word in these programs, among other things. And I was getting so many people call me for these initiatives, these programs, and I would end up getting some monies in the end. So one of the things that I did was this. There was a time when I was invited to one of my brother's friend's wedding. And when I came for the wedding, I did my spoken word, and it was it was free. My services to that brother was free. I didn't take anything from him. Now, when I got there and I performed, he told me that there was a man who wanted to meet me. Now, I went and then I met this man. And then I realized that the man who wanted to meet me is the just a second, I'm getting a distraction. And then I realized that the man who was inviting me, who was wanted to talk to me, was the commanding officer of the Ghana Military Police. The commanding officer of the Ghana Military Police. this man wanted me to come speak to me, and he engaged me and told me that he wanted me to come and do a spoken word on his birthday. Ladies and gentlemen, I was wondering, I mean, wow, this is a very huge opportunity. So he reached out and he asked, how much am I going to charge for my services? And something dawned on me. I was like, I should be very smart about this. So he asked again, how much are you going to charge? And I told him, I am not going to charge you anything. However, what I'm going to do is that I prefer the relationship that we have much more than how much money I'm going to get. So I didn't charge him. However, I told him that I preferred to have a relationship with him. And when I told him that, he was surprised. So what he told me was, oh, wow, that's amazing. So he invited me to his office. And when he invited me to his office, ladies and gentlemen, the amount he gave me was the amount I would have charged him if I was going to charge him. But this time around, he gave me that amount just for my transportation. Just for my transportation. And I was in awe of how I had learned certain values that when you meet a rich man, don't ask for money. When you meet a wealthy person, do not ask for money. What do you ask for? Ask for ideas. Ask for a relationship. Ask for connection. So I asked him that, and it touched him. He invited me to his office. He introduced me to all his friends and told all his friends, I am his friend. And it was a great privilege that this man gave me a transportation worth what I would have charged him. What services do you have? What value do you have? How are you sharing your value? How are you creating relationship with the value that you have? How are people benefiting from your value? How are you using the value that you have to create sustainable relationship, to create sustainable leadership? How are you using the position you have to create a sustainable relationship that will augur well with you in future, that will build the future for you? How are you using the value you have to make things happen for you? So this is what I told one of my people and one of my groups that I have. And they were able to also use that to maximize themselves. Anytime I meet my mentees, I speak to them about this and I tell them how you can maximize yourself by creating value. Now, number one thing that you never need to forget is value. Have value. Have value. Create value. And every one of us on this call can create value. Now, it's important that you create this value. And it's also important that while you create the value, you communicate your value. So number one, create value, and everyone has something to give. It could be writing, it could be public speaking, it could be, anything. Create value. And number two, communicate your value. Let people know what you have. Create that value, communicate it. And number three, you should distribute that value. Don't just let your value remain with you. Get mentees, speak to people, engage them, let them understand the importance of that value. And then when you are able to maximize your value, it will come back to you in several folds. I have a firm on campus. I have a campus firm on the UPS at the UPS Law School. And ever since the creation of this campus firm, we have engaged in 5 different moot competitions. And it will interest you all to know that the 5 different times that we have organized this moot competition, my firm has won all 5 moot competitions. Why? It's because I created a relationship with them. So it's not just about creating the value, but important in relationship. And I mentioned that earlier. There is always that important in relationship. And that relationship, that's the importance of that relationship is to the extent that it has taken me to several places. It has taken me to several countries. And it's very, very important, very, very crucial that you cannot miss out on this. I remember in 2021, when I hosted the presidential aid of the president of Uganda here in Ghana, and several other important dignitaries. In 2022, I was on a flight to Uganda because I was sponsored by the Prime Minister of Uganda. Several other things have happened through the relationships that I've been able to build with people that you didn't think would matter. I always tell people that if you want to meet great people, look around you. The next person who is going to make it big is the next person close to you. So while all of you here on the call, all 70 plus on you, connect with each other. The next Minister of State in Uganda is on this call. The next Minister of State from Rwanda is on this call. Connect with each and every one of you. Make it happen. Let's all connect. Let's all build the Africa we want. Let's not make the dream and the vision of Garvey, Marcus Garvey, and Dr. Kwame Nkrumah just go waste. We are here for a reason. COVID did not just come as a curse. It came as a blessing. Today, because of COVID, we transitioned to the virtual platform. And today, because of COVID, you and I are here because of Zoom, because of Google Meet. We are able to connect from across the globe. And so I want you to take notice of this, that you cannot miss out on this. Build relationships that will take you to the next level. Again, learn another language. It's very important that as young African leaders, you learn another language. Do not be okay with just English. Do not be okay with just French. Do not be okay with just your local languages, your Swahili and co. Learn another language. Learn a foreign language. Tu peux parler en français? Du spreche Deutsche? I mean, learn another language. It could be French, it could be German, it could be any language. Swahili. Just learn another language. Engage people in that sense. When you're able to learn another language, you'll be able to create that value and even show yourself as a global citizen. And last but not least, get yourself a passport. A passport. That's the most important part of being a global citizen. Do not come here and you don't even have a passport. Do not be on this call and you don't even have a passport. Do you know you can travel to so many places without a visa? All you would need is your plane ticket. So right now, if I say I want to sponsor 2 people, 5 people, 10 people to travel right now, and I want you to travel tomorrow, there are some of you on this call who would not be able to get that opportunity. And why? It's because you do not have a passport. So as soon as possible, get yourself a passport. As soon as possible, get yourself a passport. I got myself a passport and I realized that the essential to get a passport, trust me. I have traveled to several countries. I've been to places that all I needed was a day notice, a day's notice. If you don't have a passport, how do you do it? So it's very crucial that you get a passport. It's very crucial that you propel yourself to the next level, and let's all meet at the top. So once again, I would like to say a very big thanks to you, standing in for our speaker who couldn't make it. And wow, I'm so excited to connect with each and every one of you. Connect with me on LinkedIn, Alfred Elikade. Let's have an interaction. I want to have an interaction with you. Kindly let me know if you need any assistance, and let's forge the Africa we want together. So once again, it's a very big thanks to you. for joining us today. And I cannot wait to see what the future holds for us. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Alfred. That is captivating. My key takeaways from your presentation are building strategic alliances, have value, communicate your value, maximize your value, it will come back to you. But above all, you said, get yourself a passport. And you told us to look beyond monetary gain. And it's intriguing for me because I believe it is important and necessary for us as leaders to have long-term vision that goes beyond those immediate gains, but focuses on sustainable practices and development, and then for future generations. Thank you so much. Ladies and gentlemen, I would like to invite questions, concerns, comments, compliments. Unlike the first days, today you can unmute yourself and speak your mind. If you are there, kindly raise your hand. I'll say your name and then you unmute and say what you want to say. Kindly raise your hand if you have a question for Mr. Alfred. Okay, the first person is T. Daniel Kaye. Kindly unmute yourself and go ahead and speak, sir.
Okay,
Daniel.
so it is, yeah, are you getting me? Are you getting me?
Yes, please. Yes, please.
Okay.
Kindly go ahead.
Okay, so it is wonderful to be part of this all-important conference. This conference is very educative, and it comes to the aspect of networking. It's one of the priority of this conference I've observed from day one up to now. For the aspect of the connections, especially when it comes to the networking and opportunities attached to the networking, what we talk about. So sometimes you have the opportunity to travel. Some of you say, "Oh, I may have a 14 trips for you to come to the area for some program or summit, or come and represent your country as a delegate." As a person in Africa and looking at such, opportunity where it comes with a lot of criteria, where sometimes people asking for even experience that you don't even, come across yet, ask for 10 years experience, ask for degrees and other stuff. So in such category, if come across such opportunity, what would be my standpoint or a guarantee that will ensure that opportunity will be given to me?
Right. Is that a question for me?
Yeah, I just want to get a clarity.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
All right, sure. So, so you are talking about the issue of when you have applied for a job and they are saying that you need X number of years of experience before you get that job. What would you do in that instance? Is that correct? Is that correct?
My network.
Okay, good. All right, sure. So this is what you can do. It's very important. One of the things that is not assured, okay, one of the things that's not assured is anything. Nothing is assured. You need to first of all understand that nothing at all is assured. Personally, I had to apply for a job. It's an American company. And in that company, you need to go through 11 different interview processes. Now, I went through till I think the 9th in the interview process. I got to the ninth, I'm saying the 9th. So I went through to get to the 9th. And when I got to the 9th, I was told that they needed someone with 8 years experience. That was very heartbreaking. Now, what I told myself was, and what I'm going to tell you is, create that sort of value that people will come looking for you. People would want to engage you. Create that value that people would not have any option than to work with you. All right. Now, so one of the things that I did was maximizing my potentials. So what can I do? What can I do? And what do I have? So one of the things that I know is all you need is all you have. And all you have is all you need. But what you do not have is an excuse. All you need is all that you have. And all that you have is all that you need. But what you do not have is an excuse. So you must maximize your potential with what you have. All right. And if it's about something that you need to do, don't wait for a job. Don't wait. You can create an initiative. Go for an initiative. You can join an initiative that is going to the next level. So know what you are. And one of the things that I always tell people is build a plan. It could be a 5-year plan. It could be a 10-year plan. So build that plan and make sure that every quarter you check yourself. Where are you going? Have a vision, okay, such that you will not necessarily have to rely on a job. So when you build yourself and you create that value for yourself without the people, they themselves may come for you. So you are done with school. Do you have LinkedIn? If you have LinkedIn, are you connecting with people on LinkedIn? And when you are connecting with people, who are the kind of people you are connecting with? Are you connecting with the kind of people who can bring potential businesses? That's why I was saying that even when I was in law school, I was not engaging people necessarily in my legal space. I was engaging people from other industries, other departments, because they are the ones who are going to bring the business. They are the ones who are going to bring the business. So if I'm not even in a firm, I will be getting people bringing me businesses. And trust me, I've gotten people come to me for consultancy, coming to me for this, for that. So build potential and maximize your potential so that there will come a point where people cannot refuse you. That requirement will always remain. But how would you be able to get away from it? Maximize your potential and increase capacity. All right?
Okay. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Alfred, for that elaborate answer. We would take one question from one last person. I saw one Adolf. Can you please unmute yourself and ask your question in 1 minute, please? Adolf, I'm seeing Josiane Adolf. Kindly unmute and speak, please. Thank you.
Can you get me?
Yes, please.
Okay, so Mr. Alfred, you talked about creating value, communicating that value, and distributing that value, right? So my question is, how can I recognize that this is what I can offer? And how can I create value for that which I can offer? And for example, if that thing that I can offer is, let's say, public speaking, that is very, very common, how do I make that public speaking that is very common, like a lot of people have it, how can I make it special, that it becomes something of value that people will want to engage and work with me? So my first question is, how can I recognize that this is what I can offer? And my second one is, how can I create value for that? And if it is something that is common, like public speaking, how do I make it special that it attracts people to engage and work with me? Thank you very much.
All right, sure. Thank you very much, Josiane, for that very amazing question. So this is one of the things that I always tell people. So your question is, how can I create the value and how do I make the value known? And if the value is as common as public speaking, how do I distinguish myself among my peers? Is very simple, even though it may look quite complex. Now, when we talk about potential and we talk about capabilities, there's a metric to find it, and it's like a triangle. Okay, it's like a triangle. So previously I spoke about something. I said what you have. So what you have is on that one base of it. What you have. Okay, what you have. It's on one base of it. And the next base is what you have done with what you have. So what you have is on this base. And what you have done is on the other base. Now, the two things are going to lead to what you can do. Okay, so maybe you are here, you don't know what you can do yet. Okay, now you need to just take a pen and a sheet, right? And know what you have. So we are going to go with yours, which is public speaking, okay? So you then, number one, what do you have? Number two, what have you done with what you have? And then we will see them lead to the top, what you can do, okay? So then what you can do, your capabilities are tied in that sort of triangle, okay? What you have done, and what you can do. Now, so let's say that what you have is public speaking. And what have you done with the public speaking? Maybe you have done great presentations, right? And that's how you were able to identify yourself as a great public speaker. So yes, I am a very good, I'm a public speaker. And I know that because I'm great at public presentation. Then now you want to know what you can do. Several things. Moderating, you can speak, can facilitate initiative. You can do poetry or spoken word. Now, how do you then distinguish yourself among the people who are in that space? True to yourself. Be very, very true to yourself. Know your limitations and try to move beyond your limitations, because sometimes people get so comfortable with their limitations. Look beyond your limitation. Now, looking beyond your limitation is opportunities. There are several other, things up there for you. Okay, so look beyond your limitation. Now, watch something here. So yeah, you're a good public speaker. And number two, because you're a good public speaker, you know that because you have presented. Now, you also know that you have good writing skills, meaning you can write poetry. Then it means that you can combine the two and stand on stage and be a good spoken word artist. How do you go online? How do you go do that? Maximize that potential. Your friends may not be seeing that, but you have identified that. They may just be doing the usual public speaking, moderating, and all that. Add that spice to it. I started my public speaking through spoken word. And you know where I started? In church, because nobody was doing it. So I write a lot. So I wrote several poems. And when I wrote the poems, one Sunday youth week, I decided that I was going to maximize my potential by reciting the poem. And that's how I did the spoken word. And when I did the spoken word, then the next stage, a year after, I was before a huge crowd, over 3,000 people. Over 3,000 people. And the next one, I was now engaging the African Youth something summit. It happened in the Central region, where people all over Africa came. And I did that spoken word when I got a standing ovation. That was when I realized that this is mine. Now, I didn't go through the route of emceeing programs. I didn't go the route of speaking at events. I went through the poetry because I carved a niche for myself. I knew that this is what I'm good at. So be true to yourself. Know what you're good at. Know how comfortable you are with the thing that you're good at. And trust me, nobody can beat you at what you're good at. Nobody can ever beat you at what you're good at. Okay? So be mindful of that. You're going to identify that potential. You're going to maximize it by using it and by being true to yourself. I'm going to tell you this story. When I started spoken word, one of the things that I struggled with was what my audience were thinking about. It's like, what are they thinking about? Then I realized that, in fact, nobody cares about how bad you are going to perform. No audience will waste their time and come and sit waiting for you to perform poorly. Okay? So sometimes our limitations are always here in our heads. Do not be limited here. Get out there. Don't look at people's faces. Look at people's foreheads when you want to be a public speaker and you are starting. Every time you'll be faced with challenges, every time you have some stage fright when you are going to speak, go out there and be true to yourself. That is the best thing you can ever do. The best thing you can ever do for yourself is being you. Okay? So identify you and do a self-introspection of who you are and be true to yourself. Get out there and be you. Let people know you for you. And do not apologize for being you. So if they do it this way and you feel like this is how you can start it, do it that way. Be original because you're original. Because the reason you are different is the same reason God sees you as unique. So be unique, go out there, make it happen. Thank you.
Wow, 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 wow. Now I'm sounding like an ambulance, but Mr. Alfred is a powerhouse of knowledge, you'll agree with me. And he has told us to be ourselves when you're talking to people, look at their foreheads, just like the way I'm looking at your foreheads now. I don't know if they're there. But I'd like to recognize our participants on YouTube. You guys are the best. Thank you for following us live. I'm trying to get some names here. Mr. or Miss Afled, Ruvimbo, Roslyn, Dresnel, Eli, Habimana, Vivi, Hamadu, Byron, Fredolin, Jovish, and many others. Thank you so much, guys, for following live. Now, youth advocacy is crucial for empowering young people to influence decisions that affect their lives and communities. And it ensures that their voices are heard and their needs are addressed. The next speaker is going to give us insights on youth advocacy. And the next speaker is none other than Mr. Nana Akwasi Sapong. He's a sharp-minded consulting professional with a wealth of expertise in finance and travel abroad business. As a finance valedictorian graduate of 2019, he has been excelling at a Big Four consulting firm, helping large corporations manage their complex financial risks. Nana Akwasi is the founder of Tribe Pro Consult, a business that has successfully landed hundreds of students' admissions and over $1.5 million in scholarships and fellowships for bachelor's and graduate programs at top schools around the world, including Oxford, Emory, Yale, and Cambridge. His vision is to connect as many people as possible to the best academic opportunities worldwide and elevate families' destinies through his skills in writing, negotiation, and mentorship. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Nana Akwasi Sapong is in the building, and I would like to invite him to take it away. Mr. Nana, the floor is yours right now. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Mary. It's a pleasure to interact with everybody here. This is massive. This is an amazing, amazing, amazing thing. I mean, the pioneers of this entire vision, I salute you all so much. You guys are amazing. To come up with something like this to help our youth is massive. This is Africa, this is an African conference, okay, and it's targeted at you guys because we want to start getting ready right now. We do not want to wait till years to come before when the changes come and the needs are there and the demands are there. We want to be ready to meet up with all of them, and that is why something like this is very, very key. I think that this is one of the things that we have to keep going. This shouldn't be a one-time thing at all. I am urging all the starters or all the pioneers of this to keep this thing going. We need so much more of this. Someone passed a comment that really hurt me. The person mentioned that as the years go by, it comes across as though we are getting more and more degenerate. But I refuse to agree with that. I do not want to accept that as our reality as youth at all. I want it to be the case where we are at our best, and we are just getting better and better. So wherever you are, wherever you come from, whether you are from, Zambia, Rwanda, Kenya, Mauritania, Tunisia, Nigeria, South Africa, anywhere you come from, this is something that we need. The change that we like to see in our continent all starts from this place. So this is beautiful. Once again, I am Nana Akwasi Sapon. I am going to present to you something on youth advocacy. Now, this presentation I'm about to deliver is not just some talk, okay? It is not just something I'm about to share, just, tickle you and then we leave. This is not just another talk. What I'm here to do today is to trigger you. I'm here to, activate you towards advocacy. I'm trying to make everybody understand what they have, the voice that they carry, and how far your opinions, how far your voice as a youth can go in effecting all the changes that we want to have in our lives and in our various endeavors. If we decide to keep quiet as youth, it is going to come back and bite us in the future. Because if you are here, understand that everybody that is leading right now, everybody that is growing right now was once like us. How much they invested into changing things around them at the time where they were like us translates into the kind of the quality of life and the quality of everything else that they have around them today. And so if it is our time now, we must take that responsibility. We must. So this is an activation lecture I'm about to deliver, and I encourage you guys to feel just immerse yourself into the entire presentation, because this is something that you guys would love massively, massively. So without much ado, let me get into it. Just a few minutes. So this is going to be very brief, but it's going to be highly interactive, and it's going to draw a lot of you in. So I'll share my screen soon, and then we get into it. As I'll be presenting, I may not be able to see my screen. So if there's anything, Mary, could you please be my eyes? If there's something that anyone needs me to, touch on, just let me know. Bring my attention to it. Mary, is that okay?
All right, sir.
All right. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. So let's get into it. So once again, I am going to be speaking on the youth advocate. Okay, that is the concept for today. Now, to start the conversation, I'd like us to get into what they say about us as African youth. What do our elders say about us, and then what do our peers say about us? Mary, again, I'm not seeing the participant, so what I'd like us to do is to call people at random, you know to read. So you pick the person that you'd like to the person you like to speak on, and then you read what they said about African youth. So someone could start with maybe Kofi Annan, another person could go for Patrice Lumumba, and then we take it from there to make the session start off very interactively. So Mary, kindly take it over.
All right. I'd like to invite, if there is someone who is ready now, can you raise your hand and speak about an African leader? I want to see Charles. Charles Gusto, are you there?
Please, can you come again on the question?
So the instruction is to pick any of the African leaders and then read what they have said concerning African youth. So this is to get into what some of our leaders, the paragons of our generation, what are they saying about us, or what have they said about African youth. So it's just picking and then reading what they said about us.
Just to confirm, are you all seeing Mr. Nana's screen?
Yes, please.
We can't see the leaders.
So maybe I can start so that
Okay,
others can
please.
also follow. Yeah.
Okay,
So
please go ahead. Thank you.
Nelson
No,
Mandela once
no,
said
no,
that.
no,
Okay.
please let's stick with the scope of what we have presented here. Just pick this one, any of these ones that are shown on the screen.
Okay,
And
then you have to go to the next slide, please, because you are on the
Yeah,
first
we're not
slide. That is
seeing your
why.
I don't
screen,
know.
miss.
Yeah.
can you see
So
now?
Kindly
You
go
are
to the
still on
next slide.
Yes, please.
Can you see now?
No.
Hello, can you see now? Okay, hold on.
Nope.
I think it says
Yes, yes. We can see now.
You can see now.
Yes. So, Mr. Charles, can you go ahead and... Oh, it has disappeared.
Okay, so can you hear me now?
Yes, we can
Yes,
hear you.
please.
Okay, can I have the screen back though?
Yeah,
I think
it's
gone again.
back. I think it's. Can you see? Is it back? Hold on.
No.
Let me just. Hold on.
Yeah,
Let me
it's
just.
back now.
Okay. Let me just share the entire screen.
Yeah.
I think this will help. I think this will be much more effective. Can everyone see now?
Yes, please, we can see.
Perfect. Let's go.
Mr. Charles, can you go ahead, please?
It's loading on my end. I think it's my network here, but okay, now it's here.
Okay.
Okay, so I'm going to okay, I'm gonna pick Aaron Serif Johnson. It says the future belongs to our youth. If they are equipped with the right tools and resources, they will change Africa for the better. Yeah, I'm being heard right?
Yes,
Yeah,
please.
perfect.
Yeah. So am I supposed to comment on that or just reading?
Or just read on it, and then I mean, if you have any comments, just do it like quickly, and then let's take it from there.
Okay, fine. For me, really, that sums it up to say that if we as young people are equipped, then we've got it, and given the right tools, we are the change that we can bring in Africa. So that's, for me, that's true, as Sarif Jensen says. Thank you.
All right, great. Thank you very much for that. The next person, please.
Mr. Kofi, can you go ahead, please?
Okay, thank you so much. So I will read the one of Desmond Tutu. Youth are our arrows to the future. It is their energy, their ambition, and their creativity that will build our tomorrow. Thank you.
All right, great.
Okay, we have a one Margaret Selemani. Can you please unmute and...
Okay. Can you get me?
Yes, please. Go ahead.
Okay. I'll choose I'll choose Paul Kagame. And it says Africa's youth are our most important asset. We must invest in their potential. I think just a little bit of a comment on this one. I feel like this leader knows the importance of investing in young people, the importance of investing in their potential. Because if our able leaders that we have are able to invest in us, we'll be able to become great leaders at the end of the day.
Perfect. I like that. The next person.
I think we should have one last person, then we go ahead because we don't have much time. Can we have Molid? Molid, can you unmute yourself, please, and speak?
Okay, thank you very much. I would like to select Wangari Mas Kenya. Okay, it says it is the young trees that make up the forest. Can we talk more or read on?
Yeah, so I mean, this particular one is one of the most interesting ones. So what they are trying to say is that if if anybody wants to see a forest later, I mean, with all the benefits that come from the Sullivan of any country, if you want to see a forest later, take off the trees that you have today. Take off the young trees that you have today. Pay attention to them in order to get all that you need in the future. I like what this lady said so much. Now, all of these are are people who have made different strides in the in the things that they do. The last person we read on, that's Wangari Maathai. She was a Right Living Award honoree, and this was in recognition of her her practical solutions that she was providing to problems that we're having in the African space, especially the Central and Eastern Africa over time. So these are people we can surely look up to. Now, moving forward to this. Now these are people like us, youth like us, the likes of Bobby Wine, Boniface Mwangi, Ayachebi, and all of that. These people are making massive strides in the space. And they are telling you all the things that they have to say about African youth is telling us right now that we need to take our place if this continent is going to survive. Chebi said that she does not see herself coming from one particular place, but she sees herself as coming from all of Africa at once. And so, if you are waiting for change, you're missing it. You're supposed to be the one that drives the change. That change that you are looking forward to seeing, you cannot have it outside of yourself. So you must always look at yourself. You must always look into yourself, and you must always push yourself. These are some very powerful people. Sizwe Impofu Welsh, Fred Swanika, all of these are very, amazing people that we can all idolize. And all of them have these things to say about the African youth. Now, the words of all of these people, both the young and the old, are important because all of them are directing us towards one thing. That is, we have a role to play as African youth. We have a very strategic, a very critical role to play in the development agenda of African youth. If we are going to realize all our potential, if we are going to achieve all the things we set out to achieve, we need to pay massive attention. We need to take our place in society. We need to take our place in every area. And everything comes down to these things. Now, let me get into some of the things that the youth has done over the past. Let's go into a bit of track record so you understand how far youth advocacy can go in creating the change, in driving the change, in sustaining the change that we like to see in our continent. Now, look at some fun facts about the African youth, all of us inclusive. You see things like the literacy rate rising to 76%, in recent years. That means that over the past years, far less than 70% of African youth were not educated, but now more than 75% of us are educated. That means we are getting somewhere. Secondly, we have the largest population of young people anywhere that you can find worldwide. Worldwide, go to Asia, go to the Americas. We have the largest population of youth. Over 60% of African population is youth. We have over 200 million youth in Africa. That means that when it comes to the manpower, we are there. When it comes to human resource, we do not have a lack for that. The Global Entrepreneurship Monitor reported that 22% of us are startup owners. And within these startups that we have, over 70% of us are working to build startups. Not yet owners, but working to build startups or employed in a startup. The Mo Ibrahim Foundation also reported to us that 46% of us as African youth, right, we have a conscious idea. We are very aware of how far our activism and our protests can cause positive change. That was a survey done. So there's a growing awareness. There's some sensitization ongoing throughout the continent, and people are on board. The youth is on board, knowing very well that whatever that they want to see, whatever change that they want to see, is so much within our power. Over 50 major African youth empowerment networks have been formed over the years. The Africa Leadership, Alliance, and so on and so forth. These are many things that are going on right now. Over the past few years, we've seen African tech startups raise over 2.2 billion US dollars, and the figures have gone up since then. The likes of Paystack, flutter wave, and so on and so forth. You see them making massive strides. And for that reason, if you do a thorough assessment of the African Union's digital transformation strategy, one of the things they point out in there was the fact that over their 10-year plan from 2020 to 2030 of digital transformation, almost everything sits on the lap of us, the African youth. That is how powerful our position is in the developmental agenda of the continent. If you go into the area of politics, you notice very well that African youth, we constitute the highest percentage of voters. So if there's anybody seated on any presidential decision right now, provided there are no, there's no rigging and so on and so forth. If you are going strictly by the count of voters, we constitute the largest voter percentage across all countries within the country, and this has been running for the last 2 decades. That should tell us that we even determine who comes to power or who stays in power. That is just how powerful we are. Let's go back into history a little bit in this next slide. Now look at some of these youth-led movements that shook Africa. Some of you may be aware of some of these. I think the one that I followed keenly through discourse on Twitter was the NSAS protest. We saw how the youth were, they were outdoors, for days, protesting and so on and so forth to reduce the essence of police brutality and even fight for the abolishment of a certain faction of the police force called SARS. And we saw how that gained global recognition and how that one drove a lot of change in the entire security space in Nigeria. We've heard about the Soweto uprising, where they were imposing the education through with the Afrikaans language. And when the youth rose up, we saw how the apartheid policies were abolished over time. They were condemned on an international scale. Massive, massive. During the time where President Blaise Compaoré of Burkina Faso intended to extend his 27-year reign as president by making some constitutional amendments, it was the same youth, that was just 2014. It was us African youth that rose and said, we do not want this. And so the youth of Burkina, they rose. And then, they voiced out, they protested, and so on and so forth. And then we saw the change that happened. So that was how come. So that was how come Burkina Faso transitioned into the democratic system of governance. So it means that that change was lurking, but up until the youth stood up, it wouldn't have been possible. The feast must fall was another beautiful thing, another beautiful movement. When I read about it, I was so amazed, as to how we were seeing a lot of tuition fee increments, and so on and so forth, within the South African space, such that education was now being seen as a commodity, not rather as a social, economic, or a socio political tool that could bring about change in society. It was being seen as just a commodity for sale. And so fees were being inflated haphazardly, and the youth stood up and they said, no, we need this to stop. These price hikes should stop. And we saw that change happen. When it happens, the government made a series of concessions that even went beyond just the stabilization of the fees, the tuition fees in South Africa. These are all beautiful movements that shook Africa, and it was led by the youth. Up until the youth stood up, all of these things were lurking. So our voice counts. We have a lot of power. We are some powerful people. We are some amazingly powerful people. Amazingly powerful people as African youth. If we relent, if we stand by, if we just decide to observe, if we just decide to stay aloof, a lot is going to go wrong. And so we have to take our place. We must take our place. We must. Because a lot of things will not change until we do. A lot of things will not happen until we stand and we decide that we don't want this, we don't want that. We want this to change, we want that to change. That is how great we are. That's how powerful we are as African youth. Now, look at the change that we made on a continental on national scales and continental scale. Now imagine if you are pushing for change in that home, in that society, in that workplace. There's a lot that can come out. There's a lot of good that can be done. if we all decide to stand up and rise to the occasion. Now, I'll take you into this very, interesting idea of what youth advocacy is all about, and how how we begin to realize and rise up to the whole calling for youth advocacy. For us to understand that every single one of us are advocates. We're born advocates. We're born advocates because there's nobody that was born into a place without problems. There's nobody that was born into a place without any issues or challenges or without room for improvement. So this is the model I have developed for advocacy. So the model features a two-tier representation of advocacy, where at the surface level, that's on the outward level, is your identity and your voice that is being showcased. But at the bedrock of everything, it is your capacity and your passion. So before we come to the top, let's start from the bottom. This is my own model. It doesn't exist anywhere. I had to develop it purposely for this particular conference so that we can all, learn a thing or two. Now, at the bedrock of this whole movement, we have the capacity and your passion. The capacity is you critically and objectively specifying what are your skills and what are your knowledge, because these are the fundamental tools that you are using to cause that change, to cause that change. And the capacity here,
Sapong, you have 5 minutes.
that's amazing. Okay, cool. No problem. No problem. So the capacity is what you're using to, cause a change. Those are the tools. And the thing that is feeding or greasing those tools are your passion. There's a burden that you must carry, and that's a burden for change. And what is showing out there is your identity. Who are you? You are an African youth. What does that mean? You are strong, you are powerful, you have a voice. And with that voice, understand that you always have an audience. You always have an audience. There is somebody that is going to listen to you if you decide to voice out on anything or something that bothers you or something that you feel needs change or needs improvement or something that needs attention. Now, this is the whole lifeline. If we want to last as a youth or a generation in the advocacy space, this is our lifeline, because this is the lifeline we must maintain, because advocacy should never ever die. It's something we shouldn't allow to happen. So you either start or initiate the advocacy process by yourself, or you succeed someone who was already in that line of advocacy. And as you do it, you have to be persistent with it, because there'll definitely be some, there'll be some backlash, there'll be some type of resistance. So you must always persist. And when someone brings any type of counter argument, you must be able to refine your approach, refine your strategies, and then be relentless in solving the problems that you've identified or causing the change that you desire. And once all is done, make sure you leave an imprint or an establishment and then transfer it to somebody else to take over you, because it cannot die. Someone must succeed you just like you succeeded someone. Even if you started it, someone must succeed you. You must transfer that vision to someone, that advocacy mantle to someone for them to take it over, and it goes on from there. In advocacy, you need a lot of strategies. Yeah, you need education and awareness, because you cannot just try and speak to issues with an empty head. You must know what you're talking about, and there must be a lot of initiative that the youth are pioneering. So when someone is trying to start something, we do not discourage them, we rather motivate them. And in everything that we are doing, we must foster participation and representation. How many youth are present in here to ensure that the interest of the youth or the generality of the public is represented in these affairs? Goes on to talk about intergenerational dialogue. Let's not just talk about today, let's talk about tomorrow and the days to come. Long-term engagement sustainability is telling us that whatever we are looking at it, let's not look at it from just a short-term comfort perspective. Even if we are not the ones that will benefit primarily from that change, let's have the conversation on the long term with a long-term outlook, so that we know that we are driving change for people in the future. Storytelling and media engagement is very powerful, because the media is one of the major drivers of narratives. So if we are able to utilize the media space and tell the stories the way we are supposed to do, we are going to get a lot of ideas rolling in the right direction. And the community organizing and mobilization, you see, and for it to reach the larger scale, we need to take it from the smaller scale. And the fragment is the communities. We mobilize our communities, and then we have these discussions among us. That is how we are able to properly dissect issues, and then it spreads out to the other aspects, of society or the country. And there must be an ongoing monitoring process to ensure that whatever thing that we are implementing, whatever we are bringing on board, we are implementing in the right way. we must ensure that we take time to look at whatever things that we are doing so that we can correct whatever errors there are and make the necessary adjustments. There must be civic education and voter engagement. We don't just throw power away and give power to anybody. We must make sure that power is going into the right hands. We must build capacity, continuous learning, relearning, and so on and so forth. There must be policy advocacy. Anytime there's a policy, there must be some feed from the youth in there. Digital, yes, because if you are not digital savvy, you cannot really be in line with most of the developments that are around us. Legal, we can't overemphasize that. And then global advocacy beyond Africa, let's take it to the world. Now, let me emphasize on this. That is the power of the virtual reach and the centrality. You see, we don't meet. It is the virtual space that has made all of us, come to a central point. This is the converging point. And so in optimizing the power of the virtual space for advocacy, right, or other forms of activism, um we have to first of all be able to scan and study and validate whatever findings around the issues of interest, not just bringing out things there or just building castles in the air. We must properly study and understand, factualize every single thing that we are trying to communicate, so that there's strong backing with whatever advocacy that we are pushing. That is what we must do. And then in rolling out the advocacy, we must, before we do that, we must have a plan. We must establish the necessary partnerships and then strategize. If it goes A, this is what it's going to be. If it turns in the direction of B, we'll move in that other way. If it turns out to be C, then this is what we'll do. All of these things must be in place. Then we can go ahead and then initiate. Now, even if you didn't initiate the advocacy, if it's something that aligns with you, participate, and then together we drive it. And then from time, we have to evaluate, and then we repeat the entire process again, or we can switch. When we evaluate, we either repeat what we are already doing or we are switching to something better. That is the whole thing. Now, if this entire spectrum is well adhered to, we are going to optimize the power of the virtual reach so much that there's not going to be any issue that we will not have a common voice on, regardless of the distance between us. It will be so powerful. Let me open your mind to this before we wrap up, and then I think my time is nearly up. First thing, as a youth, find or take your own place. There's a place of advocacy for you. There's a place where your voice is loud and clear, and your voice can be heard. There's a place where you are very good at. You must find that place. Find that place. Number two, you must also understand that not everything is perfect around you. There will always be something that needs rectification. There will always be something that needs improvement. There will always be something that needs change. You must find that particular thing and deal with it. It's never going to be perfect around you. It means there's always something to lend your voice to, something productive, something positive. The next thing is others are dependent on you. Until some people find their voice, they are going to rely on yours to be the one speaking to their issues or pushing for their interests until they find their voice. So others are dependent on you. You are never alone. You are never in solitude. You are always connected to others. Always remember that. And the change you are looking for starts with you. Do not try to look elsewhere. Don't try to look elsewhere. Everything starts with you. Look into yourself. Look at yourself first. It starts with you. You start the change. The advocacy starts with you yourself. And then the next thing, always think about the generation after you. Always think about them. One of the biggest motivations we should have as youth is that every single one of us, we are either fathers and husbands or we are mothers and wives. These things should drive us. These two alone, I think, are sufficient motivation for everything that we want to do as youth moving forward. And finally, all of these things, if not you, please, then who? If you are not the one to stand in line and then work at these things, who then should do it? If not anyone, it should be you. And if not you, then who? Thank you very much. This has been a very, very, speedy but very detailed presentation. And I hope that we're able to pick up. At this point, I'll be open for any questions, any comments, any contributions. I'll take it from here. Thank you very much, Mary.
Thank you so much, Mr. Sapongu. Forgive me if I don't pronounce your name well, but because we don't have so much time, allow me to allow one question, and then we shall go ahead to the next speaker. Kindly raise your hand if you want to ask a question. If I say your name, you unmute and then you ask what you want to ask. Kindly raise your hand quickly. Okay. I don't think I'm seeing any hand. And if we have other questions, we will have to ask them later after the next guest speaker. Thank you so much, Mr. Sapong. It was wonderful to have you. One thing I've taken from your conversation and presentation is that if we decide to keep quiet as youth, it is going to come back and bite us. We need to find our voices because our voices count. And the change we are looking for starts with us. Thank you so much, sir. Ladies and gentlemen, without any further ado, the next guest speaker is a multifaceted leader dedicated to Pan-Africanism, education, and youth empowerment. Growing up in the tea farms of Bomet and educated at Nyajanja High School and the University of Embu, his journey is marked by early leadership as a student secretary general and his ongoing commitment to teaching Kiswahili. As the founder of the Accountability and Transparency Party in Kenya and a 2022 presidential candidate, Comrade Pigbin Odumwengu exemplifies dedication to public service and good governance. His influence extends globally as he co-chairs the Conscientism, Philosophical and Ideological class. He serves as the Secretary General of the Global African Congress Kenya chapter and advocates for reparations. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm presenting Honorable and Comrade Pigbin Odumwengu. Take it away, sir.
Greetings. Thank you, Sister Revolution. Greetings. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you, please.
Thank you very much. I have a presentation, even though not converted into PowerPoint. I can read it offline or I can share it as I read it through. So based on what you think is necessary, kindly guide me. Can I go ahead with reading it because I don't have the course right? If I have the course
right, please go ahead.
Okay, thank you. So I'm honored and humbled to be with you today. I want to appreciate the speaker came before me. And let me know, I have how many minutes?
You have 15 minutes, sir.
Okay, thank you. Let me do the timing. So thank you very much. As it has been said, permit me to take this opportunity to congratulate, of course, the recently or the newly appointed members to AYLF, the president, the deputy president, and all members present. Permit me to also thank you sincerely for your time, your dedication, and your commitment to offer your service to AYLF, to Africa, and globally. I will say that it takes that courage. I've done so many things, as you've read there. It's just the courage to make a step. So as it has been said, of course, I'm part of the director. I'm the director of leadership and capacity building for AYLF. And I'm also in so many other Pan-African activities as it has been listed, including, of course, being one of the youngest presidential aspirants in Kenya. I am also actually part of the aspirant for the Africa Union Commission chairperson. I'm a young person. So I only take a step. And that's the first thing I want you to get clearly. That most of the thing I've done in my life before even I go to my topic is making a step. And I made steps that some people might think that I am mad or confused or too ambitious. But I've asked myself always, what does it cost to make a step? What will I lose if I make it? What will I lose if I present my name to be on the ballot as I want to be the president? What will I lose if I apply to be the AU chairperson? What will I lose if I start a party? Nothing. In fact, what I will gain is experience and network. And through experience is how you build yourself. So I want to appreciate you sincerely who took the step, including even those who co-founded or founded AYLF. They took the step. So I want to sincerely thank them for that. So actually, as all of us know, AYLF is actually an international non-profit and, of course, non-governmental organization that escalates the impact of diverse community of responsible leaders. So we create responsible leaders across borders and all sectors for sustainable future. Actually, AYLF is as you know, is an epitome of young leaders who have or are making positive contribution to their community to inspire, and not only to inspire, to connect and transform the next generation, to adapt to the contemporary leadership skills and serve as agents of change in their community. So we are making the community change makers. We are the change makers. And we want to make life that makes you inspire other people, but also to connect and to transform you to be the leader for the next generation. So, you know, it works all around. We look at the community leaders, civic leaders, and business leaders. We want to make that. And for those who, of course, know, you can visit, of course, the AYLF, which is https://AYLFfoundation.net to check more about AYLF. So my topic today, I'm speaking about the capacity building of course, young leaders or leaders. And what I'll be giving is the Pan-African perspective. But let me go deep to start why this important, why this topic is important. Of course, capacity building equips young leaders with the skills, knowledge, and a mindset. The most important thing is a mindset. Once you get the skill and you get the knowledge, it gives you the mindset needed to drive positive change in society. And this is by investing in your development and empowering you and shaping a better future for all. So, what is capacity building? Capacity building is so large, you can never end it. You build your capacity 360 all round. So capacity building refers to the process of developing and strengthening the skills, instincts and abilities, processes and resources that both an individual or organization or a community might need to survive and to adapt or thrive in fast-changing world. That's basically what it is. But let's look at the components of capacity building. Of course, many organizations, including World Bank and UN and European Commission, have identified some key capacity building areas or components. And one is clear policy framework. Developing policies that can guide decision-making and actions are one of the areas for capacity building. We also identify institutional development and legal framework. So do you have a policy framework as an individual, leave alone the AYLF organization? You as an individual, what's your policy in life? What's your framework? What's your institutional and legal framework? Strengthening organizational and even individual structures and legal framework. It also focuses on citizens' participation and oversight. How do you encourage active involvement of citizens and ensuring transparency? Some of us are leaders here, other leaders of different countries. How will you ensure that moving forward, you develop a proper participation from members you lead? And how do you ensure transparency in what you do? I know most of African governments are not transparent enough, but the leaders you build for a better future must be transparent enough. So you have to look at that. How about your human resource development? How do you enhance your education, your training and skill development? Even as a leader in different aspects, like in a country, how do you ensure that the roles of the young people are actually, in terms of their education, their training and their skill development, is enhanced? Championing for these things are part of capacity building activities. And you also have to ensure that you have sustainability, ensuring that you have a long-term effectiveness and continuity. How do you prepare the next people as you're preparing us to the next generation? How do you prepare the next people to take over from you? Because what is lacking in Africa is the leaders fail to prepare the next people to take over from them. Or maybe, I would say, they're never prepared to leave. So that's why they don't prepare the next people to take over from them. But then why is this idea of capacity building very critical agenda for us as Africa, or the people across the globe? Capacity building is critical for Africa and its younger people and across the globe because of the following reasons. Look at the demographic of Africa. The demographic of Africa shows that Africa has youthful population. There are approximately 70% of the sub-Saharan African population being under 30. That we know. And it's very predicted that in 2050, 1 out of 3 young people in the world will be coming from sub-Saharan, which means from Africa. So other thing that makes this very important is our youth unemployment and vulnerability, vulnerable employment. People are actually looking for employment, but we realize that despite these improvements we have, youth unemployment remains a challenge in Africa. Strengthening capacity is crucial to address these issues. So how do you build your capacity beyond whatever you think of in terms of employment? How do you use some skills you get in order to employ yourself? You see? And this is what you need to look at, because we have now the informal sector and the formal sector. Not every one of us will fit the formal sector, but how do you look towards a direction of making yourself resourceful even in the informal sector? We also have to look at an accountability and progressive leadership. How do we build accountable and progressive leadership? In fact, accountable and progressive leadership is essential for Africa's successful transformation. Many African countries today are facing weak institutions, inadequate healthcare. We have issues with education, unemployment, and we also have issues with conservative or liberal leaders who are not ready to change the welfare of the masses. So young people like us have or can play a critical role in building an accountable and a progressive society where leaders can make changes on issues that affect the people. Then you also have issues to do with economic growth and innovation. We need to build capacities of young people or young leaders to drive economic expansion and innovation throughout the continent, either by strengthening the participation of both women, youth, and promoting their human rights and ensuring their inclusion. They can also advance civil society growth and poverty reduction. The key issue is inclusion. How do we include, despite of the statistics saying that 70% almost of the population belongs to the younger people in the sub-Sahara, how many percentage are they in the big companies, in the political offices, in the corridors of policies? How many? What is the percentage? So the capacity must be built for the younger people in order to look at that leadership scope and fit the arm so that they can drive economic expansion and innovation. We're also looking at adapting the globalization and technological advancement. There's an increased pace of globalization and technological advancement, and this divides Africa and other regions. For example, today that we are facing the AI is taking over some jobs out there. But in Africa, where we don't even have employment, so many people are still unemployed or unemployed. So if AI come in, where will you go? So you need to actually build your capacity to catch up so that you don't remain irrelevant in the next generation. So this demands that there must be capacity building to bridge this gap. But let's also look at education and entrepreneurship. We need to revisit our education curriculum so that we can actually align our knowledge and skills with market needs for essentiality by promoting, of course, what they call the STEM, but also looking forward to ensure that we build structures that can change alongside our true African history, and by embracing our culture as a people and our diversity, which include our own spirituality as a people. Therefore, the capacity building is not only about skill development, but also about empowering young leaders to shape Africa's future by addressing challenges and also fostering innovation and promoting accountable leadership. What is the Pan-African perspective in this? The Pan-Africanism, as all of us know, emphasizes on unity, self-reliance, and empowerment across African continent. But the key Pan-African aspect that we must look at in this context include collective empowerment. When we talk of collective empowerment here, we look at a holistic development of a person, and not only on an individual, but emphasizing on a community development or empowerment. So when you empower yourself as a younger person, how do you empower the people surrounding you? That's the Pan-African scope. How do you empower your society? How do you empower your community? How do you empower your nation as large? We don't look at an individual skills alone, but the whole community, what you call the Ubuntu spirit in us. And this includes strengthening local institutions, promoting education, and fostering collaborations among us as a people. Let's look at also cultural relevance. Capacity building efforts should be rooted in us, in African culture, our history and our context. The progressive Pan-Africans like myself advocate for indigenous knowledge system alongside the modern education. So how do we ensure that traditional practices, wisdom, and community-based solutions are empowered and actually are passed to us as a young people? We have to look also on youth leadership and mentorship. How do we tap to the mentorship of our leaders and elders to guide and empower the next generation? And how you, because young people doesn't mean anybody below either 10 years is not young. If you're 20, how do you empower the 15? How do you empower the 10-year-old? If you're 15, how do you empower the 10 or the 5? So all of us can empower society. Not all of us should look for a mentor. Some of us can also be mentors to the younger generation. So how do we build up on that? How do you engage on political education and civic engagement? Capacity building extends beyond the technical, as I've said, but it also includes political education. One thing that you lack today is political education. Ask many people or young people now South Africa is going for election. How many of them will come out to vote? You realize majority of young people don't want. So how do we build their capacity and educate them in the political arena so that they can understand the implication of politics and get involved in governance structures in all levels? We also have to build their capacity in reliance, which is economic reliance. We believe from Pan-African aspect is that economic reliance and reducing dependency on external aid by promoting initiatives that empower local business and industries is the way to go. So how do you as a leader move forward? You must think beyond and start thinking, even if you have a project, how do you develop internal self-sustainability mechanism so that you don't depend on loans and aids and help forever? Those are areas that we must keenly work on to ensure that we build a sustainable development. We don't become dependent. But last aspect of Pan-Africanism is solidarity and unity. How do you stand together as leaders and as people? How do you emphasize on our unity? How do you recognize that despite of our tribal differences, that should not hinder our collaboration? By fostering solidarity, we as Africans can address common challenges we have. So whether you are working in different countries, how do you work beyond or work with people beyond your community or your outreach? But of course, you have challenges like electricity issues, ICT skills as challenges. With public and private partnership, you have contextual challenges, which include overlooking at the unique context of African countries. One solution cannot work for the whole Africa. So how do you tailor some solution to the area where you work at, so that your geography or your geographical scope can have a solution? You also need to have a system approach. A holistic system approach is very important. Focusing solely or individual training workshop may not yield the desired result, but how do you build the capacity of institution and the whole community at large so that together we can work forward to what we need? Now, therefore, we need to look at the capacity building, especially on our leaders, in two components, in natural ability and learned skills. I'm almost coming to my end. In natural abilities, we know that some individual naturally possess leadership traits, either such as empathy, communication, and vision. But learned skills also, the things like training, experience, and intentional efforts. So we must work on this together. Build your natural traits, the characters, the vision, and the communication, but also train a lot to build on other learning skills that is necessary. So importance of capacity building includes resource for others. If your capacity built enough, you can help other people. If you know IT and all these aspects, you can help the community. It also commits you towards the growth. It enhances your situational management. And there are other strategies that you can apply for the leadership or capacity building in terms of leadership, which means determining the core values. Understand your guiding principle. What guides you? What are core values that shape your leadership and making your decision? What guides you in that? Do you define your goals? What's the clear goals of yourself and the team? How do you align it with your values? How do you develop your communication skills? By listening actively, express ideas clearly, and adapt clear communication style. Embrace also feedback, both negative and positive. Create welcome space where everybody can come in with diverse opinion, but also seek professional development. Seek professional development. Attend workshops, conferences, and leadership programs. Do all that in order to build your capacity. Now, what is the way forward? My call for action is simple. That we, as the young people of Africa, or young African leaders who are passionate about our capacity building, must embrace the following. We must embrace lifelong learning. We continually seek knowledge and skill. We must do that. Either by attending, as I've said, workshops, webinar, conferences, let's do that. We must collaborate and network. Let's connect with fellow leaders, experts, and organization people. Let's champion local solutions. Let's build local solutions for our community. Let's be unique and come with solutions that fit to our community. Let's develop solutions that specifically address areas and challenges of specific need. Let's invest in our development, either mentorship or an empowerment. Let's do that. But let's also advocate for policy reforms in areas like investment, education, technology, and infrastructure, so that it can accommodate our younger people. Let's advocate for that. But let's promote inclusivity and diversity. Let's lead by example. Demonstrate ethical leadership. But let's collaborate along other sectors. Let's have measures of our impact. Build your measure of impact. Check where you want to go. Build a data that can show you how you're moving forward as a person. But lastly, let's stay resilient and adaptable. Challenges will arise, but let's stay resilient and learn from the setbacks. adapt to changing circumstances, and remain committed to our mission. Remember, we as young leaders, we have the power to shape Africa's future. So let's build a continent where everyone can thrive. Thank you very much for the opportunity. I yield.
Thank you so much, Mr. Pigbin. That has been captivating and so challenging. You're challenging us as young people. At this moment, I would like to take questions. If you have questions, kindly raise up your hand. I'll take 3 questions from here, and then I'll take 1 from YouTube. If you have a question to both our speakers, Mr. Sapong and Mr. Pigbin, kindly raise your hand and ask your question as we conclude in 10 minutes. Is there any question, comment, concern, your takeaway from this session? I'm waiting for your hands, guys. Okay, as we are waiting for your hands, there was a question from YouTube from Mr. Habimana Eli. And this goes to you, Mr. Alfred, if you're still there. You kindly help us and answer this question. He asks, how does AYLF contribute to advocating for sustainable leadership in Africa? How does AYLF contribute to advocating for sustainable leadership in Africa? Mr. Alfred, kindly help us to answer that question. Thank you.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Yeah, so the question is, how does AYLF contribute to?
How does AYLF contribute to advocating for sustainable leadership in Africa?
Okay, good. I mean, there are several ways. One of the mediums is even through the convergence of leaders here right now. This is advocacy in its own right, by bringing people together for us to champion a cause. Currently, we also have a campaign on teenage pregnancy. So there are several other campaigns that we run. Our initiative is for leadership development. And so this is what we champion, advocacy. If you join the fold, there are several capacity building initiatives that will help you develop your advocacy skills as well. So these are more of something that we do to engage several people to increase their capacity. And one of the things I even spoke about was reaching out to us, pitching people, mentees, and getting them mentors so that they can continue the relationship, continue that networking space. So these are some of the things that we do to ensure that we can sustain leadership. So,
okay. Thank you so much, Mr. Alfred. And we have another question here from the chat box from Ibrahim Mustafa. And this one goes to you, Mr. Pigbin. He's asking, how do we unite ourselves to support the youth among us that have the capacity and zeal to contest for political positions in various African countries, but lack sponsorship? Maybe from your experience, you can tell us, how do we unite ourselves to support the youth among us that have the capacity and zeal to contest for political positions in various African countries, but lack sponsorship? Mr. Pigbin, kindly help us and answer this question.
The important thing for capacity. The fact that you're a youth doesn't mean you're the right leaders or the best leaders. But helping, first of all, to build the capacity of yourself by learning, engaging, and networking. And one thing I'll tell the person is that if you build proper networks, any network you build is your network. So anybody or nobody will come to sponsor you without knowing you, without having some network with you. And if they come without knowing you, then they'll come because of what is your content, what's your brand, what is your personality. So package that, but try to build proper network, then can be your network. And know when to turn it a network. Not every person who is a billionaire whom you have the call on the number you will call and they'll pick the number and give you the money. Not everybody. The second thing is, who do you want to sponsor you? Do they align with your vision and your value as a leader? Everybody's out there. They can sponsor you to push the agenda. So are you going to be at the mercy of the sponsor? Or do you want some support that still makes you be authentic? And that's why most of the leaders today get into political position. And you say, oh, they were young people. What are they doing now? Because they got sponsorship from things that were actually out of their principles, and therefore they behave like that. Some political parties make young people behave like if they are not young people. You say you have young people in parliament, but why are they not helping us? So work on those three things. Work on your network, work on your capacity as a leader, and ensure that you tap proper network and know when to convert it. If you don't know when to convert it, you will miss it. That's what I can say.
Wow, thank you so much, Mr. Pigby, for that elaborate answer. I'll read some comments from the chat box. Katoro Ruth is saying we will only lift Africa if there will be unity and teamwork among African youth. Judith M.D. Oliveira is saying be an example and a mentor to the young ones. That is her takeaway today. She's the president of AYLF Namibia. And there is Ibrahim Mustafa is saying something that as a youth, I have a foundation that has positive impact to the youth and children. I want to appeal to those who are willing to come in for partnership. So, ladies and gentlemen, I would like to inform you that Mr. Sapong shared his presentation in the chat box. You can go and look for it and save it. Without wasting so much time, I think that our time is up. I would like to remind you to kindly follow AYLF on all social media platforms, like, comment, subscribe, and share at AYLF Foundation on Instagram and Twitter, and African Young Leaders Foundation on LinkedIn and Facebook. Also follow me on Mary Joyce Takali on all social media platforms. Follow our guest speakers if you're interested in asking for more questions. Thank you so much to our guest speakers for today. Thank you so much to the guest speakers since day one. Thank you so much to the organizing committee of the African Young Leaders Foundation, the Leadership Conference. Thank you so much, our YouTube participants and our Zoom participants, but a special appreciation to those ones who have asked questions and have actively participated in this conference. Once again, my name is Mary Joyce Takali, the Deputy Executive Secretary of African Young Leaders Foundation, and I'm from Uganda. You have been an amazing audience. Thank you so much. Have a great night. I sign out. Peace.
Okay, good night.
Thank you so much, guys, for joining us. I think at this juncture, I would like to end the meeting. Unless somebody wants to say something or tell you something you want to copy from the chat box. Otherwise, goodbye to everyone and do have a good evening wherever you are. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Goodbye. And thank you for organizing this conference. Just we have learned more about Africa and how we are going to change our Africa. Thank you for organizing this conference, and thank you to all speakers who tried to empower us. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you. Good night.
Thank you too.